portions of this show are recorded. Strap in and be prepared.
Curious what the narrative's going to be now about the Oregon football team.
Did they get another unranked win?
Another unranked win. You know, you just can't get out of your own way, folks.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, Melissa Lombardi, Doogie Roth, who've said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
What's amazing to me is we're talking about a 10-1 team that's 7-1 in the Big Ten, like they're underdogs.
I know.
It's like, wow, how did that happen?
And some smiles.
No, I really put some effort in there.
And there was no try, there was just do, and you did. So no, I was
Yoda.
because
It's Danny Havel.
I mean, it's wave after wave after wave after wave of talent. That's good coaching. That is that whole culture, next man up attitude.
Justin Grossweiner.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Thank God for the Beavers. They saved the weekend for me.
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Fox Sports Newport. Now in for Justin, here's Steve Mims.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome high atop the Delta Triad in the Crystal Palace, the Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport studios, the Bigfoot Beverages studios. Welcome to the Danny and Justin radio program, the fastest 60 minutes in sports. Thanks for lending us your ears for the next 58 minutes here on a weekend eve. It's a Thursday. The rain is coming down, as we call it in Oregon, liquid sunshine. You can follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky. Danny and Justin also podcast us. I get to run the podcast this week. Baby Jay, who we might have a visit from in just a moment as he's vacationing in Chicago. We'll get an update on Meemaw and the family reunion that's going on in Glencoe, Illinois. In just a moment, we're going to have Kerry Eggers on the program, the legendary Kerry Eggers, who for 45 years has been a scribe up in Portland, longer than Justin's been alive. Oregon women's basketball, a nice win over Portland. Oregon men's basketball, a nice win last night over Portland. We've got Dan Lanning audio. We've got a full program here on the Danny and Justin radio program. Right over there is my tag team partner for today and tomorrow still. It's Goose, Steve Mims. What a boy.
You said we're going to be with them for 58 minutes. Does that mean we're going past our usual out at 56?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Justin leaves and we just throw all the rules out?
Mess them up.
Throw all the rules? Okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
And speaking of Justin, there he is. Now, you can't see this. This is great radio. You can't even see this because I got the monitor turned around. Justin is joining us live from... Now, where are you? It looks like you're in like an attic or something in Illinois.
I'm in my childhood room, basically. This is actually where my mom and
What, you
my
sleep on the
uncles and my
cabinet up
aunts-
top, or you have a bed?
No, there's a bed over there. I know
Okay.
that it looks kind of sparse from this angle, but no, this is kind of where I always sleep, and my childhood, one of my first rooms that I was ever in. So it's been great to be here.
Sorry, so give us an update on Meemaw. You were back there for Hanukkah. You were getting along. The family was there. So you said the first time, I think, since 2019 that you and Allie, your sister, your twin sister, and your mom, and Meemaw were all together.
Right.
So how's it been going? So you're up in a room right now talking to us. So how is that going?
It's going well. So actually, my mom is taking my sister to the airport right now. So we kind of just finished the time of the trip where it's the four of us. Actually, I want to amend that. It's been since 2020. We came here for 2020 during COVID for a little bit.
Must be accurate.
I'll get a little COVID update here in a second, but it's been good. It's funny. A lot of anticipation toward this trip. And there's been, we've gotten along a lot of the time, but it's one of those things where you kind of forget when you're all together, like, oh yeah, that's right. We we're a real family. We, sometimes we get along, sometimes we get in arguments, but mostly it's been really, really good. And, it's just been nice to be here. Unfortunately, my grandma, she tested positive for COVID last night, which sounds very dire, but in a way it was kind of the funniest thing that happened to us in a long time. Top 5 funniest nights in our family, because we kind of didn't know what was going on. She just got back from the hospital, and she's got congestive heart failure. Has got some, legitimate things going on. She was kind of recovering well from those things. She's 97
years old.
She's 97 years old, and she was talking about, hey, like, I can't taste things, and I'm, just kind of feeling tired. And she's mentioned that she had a little bit of a throat thing. And last night about 11 o'clock, I was just, why don't you just take a COVID test, Grandma? Like, see if that's it. And guess what? She tests positive for COVID, which actually, in a way, I'm actually a little bit more relieved, because we kind of know what's going on now. There's like a source for sort of her. She's been kind of a little up and down since I've been here.
So now, wait a second. Let's back this up just a half a second. Is the last time you went back to Chicago, you got COVID?
Yeah.
So what is it about your area that is it like a COVID hotspot for the United States? I mean, come on now. I don't believe in coincidence.
I don't either, and this is unbelievable, right? I mean, I come here every 6 months, and I get, somebody gets COVID, so nobody else has tested positive, so I know that it wasn't me that brought it to her, which is a relief for me. But she must have gotten it in the hospital, basically. She was in the hospital recently getting treated for some stuff, and she's doing fine, and she's actually probably doing very well for someone that has COVID. The symptoms kind of make sense, and so it was just like this thing. We just didn't think about it for, 3 or 4 days when she'd been having these symptoms. But yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, I mean, what are the odds? I called you, and the first thing I said was, "You're never going to guess this update."
I didn't guess.
There's never going to be a way that you were going to know.
No.
So how about it? She has COVID. She's recovering well. So there's, I don't want to have the listeners be concerned. So the Grossweiner family, we're not quite all together right now, because my sister just got flown back to Virginia, but it's been a great last 4 or 5 days, and we're hunkering down.
All right, well, we're looking forward to having you on the program tomorrow. Goose has just got a refreshment, so he's coming back into the studio, and then we're gonna launch the program. So you take care of yourself. Be well. Thanks for checking in with us. Everyone was concerned, although we didn't know about the whole COVID thing.
Right.
So we miss you. I miss you, because
I miss you too.
I don't have to work as hard when you're not here. I mean, Goose gets to be me, so I'm gonna take Goose out for a beer later and say, so what is it like sitting in that chair? Very relaxing, I'm sure.
Nice and easy over here for me.
And I've never experienced that, because I'm always on the controls over there.
And you never will, just so you know.
I never will. I know.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Appreciate you guys.
All right,
see you,
take
Jess.
care. There he goes.
Yep.
All right, Justin Grossweiner, Baby J from Chicago. So there you go.
There it is.
All right. So women's basketball for Oregon.
Yes. That was a good win today.
It was a good win. 85-59, wire to wire. Oregon shoots 38% from three, 45% from the field. And they spread it out a bit in terms of minutes played. Avery Kane actually had the most minutes played for the season, as she finished, let's see, she went 11 points. Amina Mohammed had 12. That was off the bench. Yeah,
so almost had a triple-double.
Mia Jacobs finished as the leading scorer with 21, and she had the double-double, 21 points, 10 rebounds. Katie Fiso, just 4 of 11, not a great shooting performance, but it's an 11 o'clock game, for gosh sakes.
Almost had a triple-double. She had 10, 11, and 9.
So, yeah, she had 11 assists, and that was one thing that I wanted to point out. 22 assists for Kelly Graves' squad, which is what, and we'll talk about the men in a second, but that was kind of a formula that I didn't talk about the other day with what I wanted to see about Dana Altman's team, was sharing the basketball. But Kelly Graves' squad, a nice win. They're now 12-1 on the season, and a big matchup on Sunday against Stanford. Yeah,
so they were up by 25 at the half. So you mentioned kind of being able to check out his bench, and he got to play, like you say, Kane got to play a lot of minutes. So 25-point halftime lead. He was able to kind of do what he wanted there in the second half. And yeah, Stanford's 9-2. I don't think Stanford's kind of fallen off a little bit since Tara Vanderveer left. This is obviously year 2 in the Kate Payne era, but they're 9-2, and they lost to Tennessee, who's good, and then a Florida Gulf Coast loss. So I think this is a winnable game for them. I mean, this isn't going to number 1, number 2, number 3 ranked Stanford we saw the last few years. This is going to a Stanford team that might be kind of an equal of Oregon.
So, and I think for Stanford playing in the ACC, not necessarily the gauntlet for women's basketball. It's not like the Big Ten has been or the Pac-12 was.
Yeah.
So I think this needs to be, I think Kelly Graves would agree with it, is that this needs to be one that they need to put in the win column.
Yeah, because like we've said, they've done enough. Auburn, we think that's going to look good at the end.
I think it will.
Montana, Oregon State, they're not kind of, the Montana State and the Grand Canyon haven't really lived
stop
up,
right there,
so.
though. If Oregon State wins the WCC, which they're projected to do,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not that you can't just scoff at that if you beat a conference champion.
Yeah, but a home game against a group of 5 champ. I'm just saying they got to start piling up some things like Stanford, and as we get into conference play, we talked about Michigan State's coming here on the 28th. They're going to have some opportunities to win some big games. Kelly said to you on here, the non-conference slate they thought was kind of tough, but it turned out they weren't tested that much. Yeah. UCLA, the open conference play, kind of puts them in their place, and I think he feels like he can compete with these teams. But they got to. It's kind of like what I said about the men yesterday. They got to start winning some of these games to move that net and the resume up.
So December 29th is one you want to circle on your calendar.
Michigan State, which is ranked 8th.
Michigan, not Michigan State.
Michigan, which is ranked 8th, and they only have one more game before that, and it's like. Or Oakland. So they'll be top 10 when they get here, and they'll have been rested a week.
And it's going to be a 6 p.m., so don't worry about Monday Night Football.
Monday night.
It's not going to worry about Monday Night Football. You're going to have plenty of opportunity to watch the rest of it. It's not going to mean anything by this point. They don't schedule good games on Monday Night Football anyway. Al Michaels is just checked out of what no, it's not Al Michaels anymore on Monday night, right?
It's Buck and Aikman.
Well, whatever. I don't listen to them either. So... But what I'm saying is that MKA should be rocking on a Monday night, and that will be a great game. And, moreover, it'll be a great test for this team to see. That is automatically out of the gate. Now, they got UCL out of the way on the road, but they get a home game against a top 10 team. They are definitely going to have their... standard. They're going to have to figure out where they're at, and this is going to be a good game to do that.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, Sunday will too. I think Stanford, that's an even matchup now. To me, that's a 50-50 game, and if you're Oregon and you want to build your resume, go down there and win that one.
85-59, the women of Oregon defeat Portland, who now drops to 5-6 on the season. Oregon improves to 12-1. 85-59, the win over Portland. Oregon men... We wanted to see momentum. They shared the wealth on Wednesday night. Had 23 assists converting into baskets that... So wait a second. 24, I had 4, 17, 23, 31 made baskets in a 94-69 victory. It doesn't make any sense that the numbers went. 23 assists, season high, 31 points. For the U of O men.
31 field goals.
31 field goals.
23 assists was the most they'd had since, I think, 2021.
13 made threes as well. So I did, one of the things I asked and threw out there is that I wanted to see Dana Altman's team shoot a little bit better from 3, and they did that. Now, again, it's against Portland, who came in at 7-4. They but you brought it up. They had just eked by UC Davis, who Oregon just blew out a few nights ago. But this is one of those games that, last year it was an overtime game. It was a 10-point game, overtime, where I think the teams were a bit alike, and now Oregon seems to start to build a little bit momentum. So what do you see, Goose?
Well, I like the fact that Biddle's back and playing, played 25 minutes, probably could have played more if they needed it, but you mentioned a 25-point game, so he gives you 18 points in those 25 minutes. That's sufficient. 4 assists for him. I like the fact that Biddle and Kwame both with 4 assists. That's pretty nice when your front court guys are pitching around like that. And then Lindsey's the guy that's intrigued me.
Desert Lindsey,
when I watch him, I think
I saw the line. I was surprised.
Good, and he had 14 points last night. It was an off shooting night for Takai Simpkins, who was 1 for 5, and all of them were 3-point attempts. He didn't attempt a 2-pointer. But I think that we talked about yesterday that they got to find some of these guys on the bench to come in and at least be 6th, 7th, 8th, give them a rotation. And I think getting Edge there yesterday. Unfortunately, Wee Lin still struggling to shoot. He goes 1 for 5 yesterday. But they're getting, maybe to that 8-man, and if Devon Pryor comes back, maybe they can get it to a 9-man that they trust.
Oregon shoots 48% from the field overall, 39% from 3, shoot 82% from the line. They pull in, was it a 37? They out-rebound Portland, but not by much, 37-32. They turn it over 15 times, but again, that 23 assists, that to me... And I'll, again, throw it back over to you, Goose. That, to me, is more like a Dana Altman-type team. Sharing the basketball, looking for that next pass. getting the best look you can out of the offense, not just running down. Although, I will say, in transition, sometimes Dana's like, you get the first good look and you feel confident in it, go ahead and take it. He's not going to bench somebody for doing that. I eat TJ Bamba.
Yeah.
We had to go through 2 years of some of that. But I think this is a positive turning point for Dana Altman's team.
Yeah, and now I'm going to say the same thing I just told you for the women.
Okay.
Now go play Gonzaga tough on Sunday. Again, nobody's
gotta
going to be
start
impressed
stringing them
that you're,
together.
I think I saw that the win last night moved them to 117 in the net, so their wins just haven't beaten anybody good yet. They get a chance again on Sunday. Like you said, we've talked about it. They built momentum. They've won 2 in a row. Portland should be a predominantly Portland crowd to be a lot of Gonzaga people, but you're going to have kind of a neutral site, but more home for you than the other. You're playing a good Gonzaga team. Go carry this over and win that game.
So, and then you got that. Then you got Omaha.
Then you got Omaha. Again, another one that's not going to press anybody. So go win the one here, because eventually you're going to have to win one of the, a couple of these games against good teams, and there's a few more coming up on the schedule.
Because looming on that is a huge road trip back east to Maryland and Rutgers. And it's going to be a long road trip because I think they play a Thursday and a Sunday.
Yep.
It's that weird, and Kelly Graves talked about this. It's like, going down to the breakfast buffet at the Marriott or the Holiday Inn or whatever is just like, it's the powdered eggs. And it is a long road trip for people in the Big Ten. It's not like it used to be where it was like a Thursday, Saturday, or whatever on the West Coast, where it was easy. You could fly down literally the night before and you're fine. It's not that way when you go back east.
But they signed up for it. I mean, Oregon didn't get adopted into the Big Ten.
No,
they agreed to go, and it wasn't like the Big Ten was hiding Rutgers and Maryland when they brought them to come in. I mean, I understand what Kelly's saying, and yes, it's not. I mean, it used to, believe me, I traveled with the team in the old days. It was pretty nice. You went to Tucson and Phoenix, it was 60 minutes apart. You went to the Bay Area, the schools were 30 miles apart. You went to, but again, I don't like hearing the, oh boy, these are tough road trips. Your AD signed you up for it, so going out there and play them.
I love the way you look at that. All right, so Oregon men and women with nice wins yesterday and this morning. Oregon State men and women, by the way, they were also playing. I do want to mention this before I get to Oregon State. And by the way, Oregon State had a lot of new coaches named on the football program. But for Oregon women on the volleyball side, Oregon freshman Alina Clemente has earned a spot in the All-American ranks, third team All-American, the 18th player in program history to be named one of the first 3 AVCA teams, the second since Mimi Coiler did it in 2022. Go ahead.
What's Mimi Coiler doing tonight?
I have no. Okay, what?
She's playing for Wisconsin in the NCAA semifinals.
Okay.
She was out there, but this was cool. I had, the volleyball flew under the radar this year. Obviously when Matt Ulmer left and Collier left, and it worked out well for her. She's now in a Final Four.
And Coach Kirsten is trying to build.
And he brought in 8-9 freshmen, I believe, and I didn't realize that one of them was having such a good year to be an All-American. But that's
want to mention that.
That's a nice building block if your first recruiting class includes an All-American.
So Oregon State men's basketball. Turn your microphone off for a second. You done? So. Okay. All right. Oregon State men's basketball fell to Sam Houston, the Bearcats. So on the football field and
that's a future conference rival, right? And no,
I don't think Sam Houston State is. It's
I was
not
thinking
one
North
of the
Texas. Sorry, I was thinking North Texas.
That's right. 85-75. So they lose by 10 at Gill. So the Beavs, I think, are now even at 6-6 or 5-6. Take a look here. All right, hold on a second. I got it right here. They are 6-6 overall. Josiah Lake, we've been saying his name a lot. He is the leading scorer and has been. 19 points, went 6 of 8 from the floor, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Keziah Siki had 13 off the bench, going 4 of 8. Des White had 11 points.
What'd Yak do?
I'm looking down here. Yak went 20 minutes. He had just 2 rebounds and 6 points. So not great. I mean, a lot of minutes, but not great production. 2 of 5 from the field. Oregon State went on a 9-0 run to get back within 2 with just under 3 minutes left before the half, but then they trailed by 9 at the break. Sam Houston extended the lead to 17 early in the second half. They never looked back. Oregon State women are on their annual trip to Maui to take on Montana State and Liberty in the Maui Classic. 9th edition of the Maui Classic features 4 defending conference champs, the Beavs, who won the WCC last year. I don't even remember that. The Flames of Liberty, Conference USA. Montana State Bobcats won the Big Sky. Oregon's already played Montana State and beat them. And Hawaii out of the Big West, all 4 games streamed on the Oregon State Athletics YouTube channel for free. I like free. You like free?
I like free.
Oregon.
I'd prefer to be watching it in person, though, at the Maui Classic.
Of course you would. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, the great Kerry Eggers. I'm excited to talk to him. It's been a while. He's not going to remember. He knows Steve Mims, though, so I'm going to let Goose and Kerry, I'm going to sit off to the side. I'm going to, knit or crochet while those two wax poetic. We're going to talk. I'm going to go all the way around the horn. A lot of Oregon State stuff. I actually would like to ask him about classifications in the OSAA, high school football, especially. I think that's interesting because that was finalized by the OSAA, the hybrid 5A, 6A model. So would you allow me at least one question?
You may do that, yes.
Okay,
I told you, Kerry you can throw anything at him.
I love it.
He knows it. He's been there, done that.
All right, the great Kerry Eggers next on the Danny and Justin radio program for Weekend Eve.
Follow Danny and Justin on social media with the handle @DannyandJustin on X and Blue Sky.
Finding their way into thousands of homes all over the world.
You're listening to Danny and Justin on Fox Sports Eugene and Fox Sports Newport. Whether you're on the coast or in the valley, call Danny and Justin now and give us your take. 541-343-5673. You're listening to Danny and Justin on Fox Sports Eugene and Fox Sports Newport.
Welcome back into the Danny and Justin show on Fox Sports Eugene, Fox Sports Newport. This is Steve Mims. I'm filling in for Justin here with Danny, and we are welcoming in a longtime friend of mine and the dean of Portland sports. It is Kerry Eggers. You can catch his new book, Scrolls of a Sports Scribe. It's 2 volumes. Basically, Kerry Eggers' greatest hits is out now. And in addition, if you are still looking for a last-minute holiday gift, you can get his 3 books, Jerome Kersey, Overcoming the Odds, Bill Schonley's Story, Wherever You May Be, and Civil War Rivalry, all 3 for $25. Find it all at kerryeggers.com. Kerry, thanks for coming on today, man. I hope you're doing well.
You read that ad well, Steve. You're hired.
Are you his agent?
I'm waiting for the check to come in on that one there. So
thank you.
It'll be good. I've been reading through that Scrolls of a Sports Scribe. It's really good, Kerry. And
thank you.
And I've really enjoyed kind of, I say people who know Kerry going back to the Oregon Journal, the Oregonian, the Portland Tribune, and through his website, it's kind of a history of Oregon sports over the last 45 years. And for Oregon fans, there's a story on Sabrina, a story on Phil Knight, one on Chip Kelly. You kind of run the gambit of Oregon sports for the last half century, not to age you, and it's really good in this. How's been the response to the book?
Yeah, and Jim Arnett, by the way, one of the great characters in Oregon history, has become a friend of mine, and there's a fun piece on him there too. Yeah, it's been going pretty well, Steve. We're selling it only on the website, kerryeggers.com. If any of your listeners are interested, go to the homepage up on the top. There's a store tab. Hit that and put the order form in. And like you said, we got. Through probably the New Year's, we'll be selling those 3 books. We have a lot of inventory on those 3 books. We just want to get them moved. So $25 for 3 books is pretty good deal.
It is. And Kerry, so much of your writing through the time. First off, the cover of the Scrolls of a Sports Scribe looks like you're at Hayward Field, if I'm correct on that one.
You
there.
got it.
The
It
old
was, my
Hayward
wife
Field.
did that at a Prefontaine Classic, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay,
Yep.
so you got that, and then obviously you know most for the Beavers and the Blazers. And tell me, you've covered a few Oregon State football coaches. What's been your initial reaction to the Jamarcus Shepard hiring?
Well, as I wrote, Steve, I here's what I think. I think he couldn't have made a better first impression, and he's young, he's enthusiastic, he's got a pretty darn good pedigree for a young guy. He has some Northwest ties. He coached both at Washington State under Leach and DeBoer, and of course most recently at Alabama in a couple of pretty important positions. He's never been a head coach, but he's got a lot of enthusiasm. I'll tell you where he's different from his 2 predecessors is he's got a lot of personality, and that's no rip on Trent Bray or Jonathan Smith as people, but they weren't exactly guys that were going to go out and shake hands and with media or fans and that sort of thing, and we're very glib. And I think he's going to, he's even said, hey, if you see me and my family out on the streets, people come up and say hello, and I think he means that. He seems like he's a people person. And I think right now where Oregon State sports is, and in particular Oregon State football is, I think that's a good thing.
Kerry Eggers, sports writer, over 45 years in Portland newspapers. He's been writing sports for the Portland newspapers, the Oregon Journal, the Oregonian, the Portland Tribune, 6-time National Sports Media Association's Oregon Sports Writer of the Year. Corvallis High School grad, graduated in 1971 with someone I got to meet this year, Donnie Reynolds. I was there calling the game for the confrontation between Crescent Valley and Corvallis, and was able to talk to Donnie. I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to stay on Oregon State for a second because I think you bring a unique perspective because of your longevity in the business. And what we see, it's not like the Mike Riley days where we sometimes can get sentimental. And it's like, let's bring the old coach back and such. There is such an instant gratification necessary, it seems, with NIL and the transfer portal and, how TV has integrated into college athletics. It's not amateurism anymore. It's professional sports. So from your take, someone like a Jamarcus Shepard, does he have a shorter window to produce than maybe somebody else 10 years ago would have had getting into a program like at Oregon State?
Well, that's a good question, and I guess I kind of look at that from a different perspective, and that's from the glass half full situation. Mm-hmm. If he has great success in these first 2 or 3 years, will he stay? And I think the chances of that happening are probably even more than he would be fired for going 4-8, 5-7, 6-6, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think there will be patience with him if he shows that he's a good coach and that their program is improving. And keep in mind, it's at a different level than it's been. And that's going to be one of the hard things for Beaver Nation to get used to is they're not going to be playing the Oregons and USCs and Washingtons anymore. They're going to be playing the Boise States, San Diego States,
Texas
those
State.
programs, which are good programs, but they're not where they were. So their goal now has to be, look, we want to be up in the upper echelon of the new Pac-12, go to a bowl game most years, and see if once in a while we can get up a good 10 for even more than that.
Yeah, and I liked with the staff, he brought back Inoke Brochterfield, who was obviously a great Beaver of the past. I like the fact Mitch Dolan, the offensive coordinator, who was with him in kind of an advisory role at Alabama, he brings with him, that's a Redmond kid. So, he brings in, I thought that was kind of an interesting hire there. And what did you think of the Dolan hire?
Well, he's a young guy, and he does have some pretty good experience, coaching at Alabama and then with Kalen also at Washington. And the idea of him knowing the state is a good thing too. He's kind of like Jamarcus. He's going to have to prove himself.
Kerry Eggers joins us, kerryeggers.com. A little aside for you, Kerry. Mitch Dolan's dad, Chris Dolan, who played for the Beavs.
Yeah. Yes.
Is a successful accountant over in Redmond. One of his first jobs in Portland was with Nygaard, Mims, and Hoffman, which one of the partners was my father, Burke Mims. Was one of the first people,
you got a lot of history with it.
One of the first people to hire Chris Dolan, so I liked the hire on that count. So I'll be rooting for them as well. And it feels like we talk about the new conference. With the teams that are in there, if he could hit the portal right away and get maybe some guys that were with him at Alabama that didn't play, maybe some guys he had recruiting ties with, I don't think there's any reason to think first year of the Pac-12, maybe they couldn't be a team that's considered one of the contenders.
Possibly, and you're right. Look at what Washington State did last year. They got 70 new players, and I hate to think Oregon State would have to bring in that many, but it might take something like that. You're right. His recruiting ties, I would assume there'll be some Southeast United States type players, the SEC area, that will come up. But I also think, and he made it clear that he says our nucleus has to be with Oregon and Northwest kids. And he also mentioned the Bay Area. He said the Bay Area has been really good. So he understands that, probably a majority of the kids are still going to be West Coast kids, but I think he'll have kids from all over. And you're right. Most of these guys are going to have to be able to play right away.
Kerry Eggers joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program. Goose sitting in for Baby J, who will be back on Monday, we hope, as there's COVID running through Meemaw's house in Chicago right now. Kerry Eggers, the oldest of 3 sons of John Eggers, who was the sports information director at Oregon State from 1952 to 1980. Kerry, when you were growing up, is this what you wanted to be? When, I mean, someone say I'm a policeman, I'm a fireman. Did you want to write? Did you want to be able to cover sports like this? And maybe because of what you saw your dad doing?
Danny, I bet Steve's probably already heard me tell the
Doesn't
story.
matter.
But
I want to hear it.
Being a little kid and around the Oregon State sports was really important to me. Watching what my dad did and help facilitate the media and their coverage and that sort of thing. And as I got older, I kept stats for him, football and basketball in the press box, and I would see these sports writers come in, and this was their job. I said, geez, this would be a lot better than working for a living. and as Steve knows, it is a job, and I learned that later, but it also is a labor of love, and it's been fun. It's been a fun profession. We were lucky enough to be able to do it when you could still make a decent living at it. I'm not so sure that's the case with newspapers today, but I did know at a young age that was what I was most interested in.
So you've covered a lot of things. As I look at your resume, 2 Summer Olympics, 4 Super Bowls, a World Series, All-Star Games, College World Series, championship football games, Davis Cup. I'm a tennis guy, so I love that, by the way. I'm a big Rod Laver guy all the way back. That's who my inspiration was. Pro Bowls, Olympic trials. You're a track guy as well, though. I mean, you've served as the past president of the Track and Field Writers of America. Is there a sport, and it's kind of like trying to pick a child, but is there a sport that you loved covering the most?
It was always college football until the last couple of years, which with the NIL and the transfer portal has totally changed that. I would say now it's probably NBA that I'm most interested in, but I'm much more interested now in the NFL than I was before. And as you mentioned, I love track and field as a spectator sport, the variety in it. I covered it in the 80s. I covered some great Oregon teams under Bill Dellinger and Tom Heineman, and really enjoyed that and focused in the 2 Olympics I covered, Summer Olympics I covered, focused on the track portion. So had a lot of fun. There's several track stories. Mondo Duplantis, Carl Lewis, in my book. It gets covered. It gets handled in my book.
Well, can you just give us a little bit though? Come on, you just said Carl Lewis, and I'm sure their ears are pricking. Can you tell us just a little bit of a Carl Lewis story?
Well, let me tell you how I got this interview. He was getting what I think was this was like probably late 80s. Okay. And the national convention, USTAF I think it was USTAF, was having its national awards, and he won the Prefontaine Award. So I was tasked with covering the event, but also with featuring him. He was going to give a speech. Gave a speech, and somehow I got the duty to give him and Joe Douglas, his agent, a ride to the airport. So I'm going. I can't remember how it happened, but what happened was we were late and we missed the flight. It was snowing that night, and he had to get a flight that was like 90 minutes after that. And I had a captive audience, and he was a nice enough guy. He was very wary of the media. He had a lot of complaints and kind of excuses for he was really represented, and people didn't understand what a great guy Carl Lewis was. So that was my story that's in there, and I always thought it was fun that I had that in my repertoire.
Plenty in that book. Again, Scrolls of a Sports Scribe, 2 volumes on kerryeggers.com for his 45 years of sports writing. Plenty of Blazer stuff in there. Kerry, I'll move you over to them. You still cover them as well. This year it felt like, the rebuild maybe would turn into something. They got off to a good start. Now injuries have hit. Do you feel like this has been a year so far of progress, or just kind of more of the same?
Oh, it's been a rough year, starting with Chauncey being let go after the first game. And, they've lost 11 of their last 15. I think more due to the injuries than just terrible play. They've had some close games they haven't been able to finish. When you lose all 3, Scoot Henderson has not played a game. I mean, I am stunned that a hamstring injury for a young guy like that would keep him out that long. Drew Holiday was playing pretty darn well. He's been out for a long time. Blake Wesley, who you guys probably don't even know the name of, but he was a pretty darn good third-string point guard, and he's out. So they're really running Denny Abdi at the point. He has been all-star worthy. He's averaging 25, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and if he doesn't make the all-star game, something's wrong unless he starts really going down or gets hurt. So Shaden Sharp has been pretty good lately. He's averaging 21 points. Jeremy Grant has been good off the bench. But I'll tell you, their defense has really not been good at all under Tiago Splitter. They're 24th in defensive rating, now I look at the schedule. They've had a tough schedule. They've been on the road a lot against good teams. 6 of the next 7 are at home,
right,
including 2 against the Kings, 1 against the Clippers, 1 against Dallas. They should win some games, and I don't see them falling worse than 10th in the West. There's some bad teams in the West, and if they get 10th, then they're in the play-in. And I kind of thought they'd be about 500. I think I predicted 41 wins, and I still think they have a chance at getting there. They may not get there, though.
Last thing on us, Kerry, before we let you go, appreciate you joining us. Gonzaga and Oregon are playing Sunday at the Moda Center. This is a game we've been hearing for years. Why doesn't it happen? Now it's happened. But I see there's still some 2-for-1 seats. Oregon's not having a great year. You're up in Portland. Is there a lot of buzz for this game, or maybe as much as we would have thought over the last few years was building up for a game that hasn't really happened on U.S. soil, as they say, in more than 4 decades?
I pinpointed that game as a game I wanted to cover, but as I mentioned to you off the air, I just had hip surgery, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get there. As far as hearing buzz about it, I've not been in circles of anybody's talked about it. They should be. It's always fun to see Gonzaga. You're right, the Ducks are a little down this year, but that's a good game. I wish that game was played every season. And of course, Oregon State now will be in the same league as Gonzaga, so they get to play them every year.
All right, so you won. I'm gonna ask you this last question, and then we promise we're gonna let you go. You were an all-league defensive end on a Corvallis Spartan team that won the 3A football championship during your senior season in 1970. Give me one Donnie Reynolds story that we can share with the fans.
We had to play. We were ranked number 2 in the state, and Sunset was ranked number 1. And Danny, in those days, they didn't seed. There was only 8 teams. The league champs all got to play. And by the way, 3A is what 6A is now. We were the top level.
Right.
So
yep.
We're going in to Sunset playing Mouse Davis's Sunset Apollos.
Oh,
they're ranked number 1. We're ranked number 2. Donnie, in the first half, ran 3 touchdowns for 50 yards or more. We crushed them 42-12 on our way to the state championship. And it's funny that I have some friends that are Sunset Apollo fans, and they say they've never seen anything like it. But Donnie, as his number was just retired at Corvallis High. I was down there for that. It was really cool. He was a great teammate. He's a great friend. One of the top, our best player that year, and one of the top athletes probably ever in Corvallis High history.
Well, while you're healing up from your injury your hip, you need to go down and go fishing with Donnie. I mean, that's the one thing he said to me on the air. He says, anybody wants to come fishing with me on the coast, I got a pole ready for you.
It's funny you mentioned that. I wrote the little script that they read at halftime when they inducted him, and at the end of it, I said, Donnie and his wife Jan are now retired, and they live down at Karch Cape on the beach, and he has been renowned as one of the top anglers in the Northwest. And when he heard that, he looked at me and kind of pointed at me because he knew I was kidding him there. But he loves to fish. I'm not a fisherman, but I'm sure any Duck fans that wanted to come down and visit him, I'm sure he'd be a welcome host.
Absolutely. When I asked him on the air, I said, you do a lot of fishing, but do you do any catching is the problem. There's a lot of fishing going on, not a lot of catching going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his percentage is, but I bet he does okay.
Kerry, what a pleasure. Thanks for coming on the program. Please come back whenever you feel like it and whenever it's relevant. And I know you have plenty of relevance in the state of Oregon. You're still doing it well. You're as sharp as a tack. We love having you on the program.
Thanks for having me on. You guys have a great holiday season.
Thanks Kerry. You too. Heal up.
Yeah, please do. Thanks. There he goes, the great Kerry Eggers. That was solid, dude.
Yeah, good dude. That's the encyclopedia of Oregon sports right there, Kerry Eggers. And like I said, KerryEggers.com, Scrolls of a Sports Scribe. It's a great read for people who've grown up in the state and want to get some of the good stories from the last 4 decades.
Absolutely. Great holiday gift right there. You can get it in time for the holidays, I'm sure. All right, when we come back, we'll hear from Dan Lanning. We'll get into. We got tickets to give away. Let's do the tickets right now. By the way, all right. Caller number 5 on the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. Caller number 5. Let's give you a couple of seats to the Northwest Elite Showdown, Oregon and Gonzaga. That is Sunday, 3 p.m. Caller number 5 at 541-343-5673. The Danny and Justin radio program.
Broadcasting from the Bigfoot Beverages studio in Eugene and Newport.
The only vote Oregonians would risk prison over would be a vote to get Portland Trailblazer Damian Lillard into the MVP conversation.
You're listening to Danny and Justin on Fox Sports Eugene and Fox Sports Newport.
So I know there's not going to be a lot of people that can relate to this because they don't sit here and do what we do.
I don't even know if I sit here and do what you do, but I try.
You do very well.
Uh-huh.
I'm Danny. Right over there is Steve Mims. That's Goose. But you get a little bit of a adrenaline rush and a high when you have a good interview.
Yeah, it was good.
And Kerry Eggers was a great interview. Great stories. And by the way, so you got the book again? You can go to Kerry Eggers.
Scrolls of a Sports Scribe, KerryEggers.com.
You got to go there and buy that book. I'm going to go buy the book. I'm dead serious. I
2 volumes.
I've read Dave Revson's book, Yogi Roth's book. Yeah, that's definitely must read. All right. Tomorrow on the program, in studio, the great Scopel Damas is going to join us.
All right.
Eric Scopel is going to be in studio. We're going to talk Oregon football, obviously, against JMU. We're going to talk Oregon women's basketball because they've got the big matchup coming up against Stanford on Sunday. Oregon men also have a big matchup coming up. And by the way, congratulations to Chris, I believe from Eugene, who won himself a pair of tickets to go to
the Northwest Elite Showdown.
I finally got that right in my brain. We've got one more pair of tickets to give away right now, and I think we'll have some more tomorrow as well.
All right.
So, right now, caller number 7 on the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. So if you just called a moment ago and you didn't get in, now's another chance. See, redemption is yours. Caller number 7 at 541-343-5673. You will get a pair of tickets to head up to see Oregon and Gonzaga on Sunday at 3 p.m. at the Moda Center. All right, so thanks again for Chris for listening, and thanks for winning on our program. Tomorrow, big bets. As I said, Scopel Damas will be in the studio. We're going to have Baby J via the internet. He'll be on. We're not going to have the guys from Coquel. They're going to take a hiatus until after the first of the year. But we'll have them back on mid-January.
But we're still picking games.
Well, so you didn't make any commentary on the games that I sent. I know you have a I know you have a commentary on the games.
No, I thought it was all right. One of them was like a Monday game, right? So that's going to be
had
like
to go
a
into
following,
Monday. It's the Washington State Utah State bowl game. That's going to be Monday. So we're trickling into Monday, but I figured that's going to be okay. We can talk about it on Tuesday next week because we're going to have shows Monday, Tuesday. We're actually going to do a Christmas Eve show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be dressed up as Santa, and then you're going to be gone. So you're going.
I'm going to Mexico with my family for Christmas. We decided experience over gifts this year, so we're going to Mexico.
So instead of something under
gifts.
did you put a tree up?
Yeah, but there's no presents under it, just a tree. All the money for the presents is going towards an experience instead.
Put a sombrero or something underneath the tree.
That'll be coming in 2 days. And I'll be sitting I'll be somewhere on a beach to have a beer in Mexico when I call in for the big bets next Friday.
All right, let's talk about JMU and Oregon. Dan Lanning had his last presser for the week. And it was interesting because Dan Lanning has been very guarded about how he talks to the media. It's and a lot of this is nothing.
How he talks to local media. He's very open when it's bussing with the boys and Pat McAfee. He's very jovial in that. With the local media, he's a little bit more buttoned down.
And he's not alone in that. All right. So let's just say, not casting any shade, but most of the coaches we do discuss coach speak. It's I always say go back to the film with Brendan Fraser. Do you remember Bedazzled? No. When he's the basketball player. I've dropped this on Baby J before. So you go. I am going to send you the clip of Brendan Fraser as a basketball player at the end of a game where he scored like 140 points and talking about how he and his team. It's just that's enough context for you.
Yeah.
All right, enough said. So Dan Lanning talks about there's been a lot of discussion, and especially with practice being open for 15 minutes, and all of a sudden you see Evan Stewart and Decoria Moore and such, and how the team preps for injuries.
Yeah, you want everybody to be ready for their opportunity when it comes, but there's been moments in the past where an injury happens and there's a huge slide off. There's a big difference in who's out in the field for you and what's going to look like. I think our coaches have done a really good job adapting, to the personnel that's available, and I think our players have done a great job stepping up and saying, okay, I'm the next guy up, I'm ready to go. For those moments. And when you have that, you're able to have team success. So strength in numbers has been huge for us, bigger this year than any other year as far as guys that are able to play winning football. I know I said that going into a fall camp, and I feel like we have a lot of guys that can play winning football, and that's really shown up for us this season.
And so what I loved about this, Steve, is there was a great follow-up question to that, which is what I was thinking when I heard that response from Dan Lanning is, okay, so what happens when some of those players that have been set down by no fault of their own through injury, what happens when they start coming back?
We found strengths as guys have been out, and those are strengths that we want to continue to lean on, guys that do some things really, really well. And I think one thing we do well on offense, obviously you're talking about some of the offensive injuries, is we've done a really good job personnelling teams. But now we have a variety of personnels that we can use when you start getting guys healthy, and it makes you multidimensional, and gives you an opportunity to use guys with their strengths.
So when Malik Benson steps up and starts to become a star, Decory Moore was the first half star, and then Malik Benson. So now if you get Decory Moore back, so there's only one football, just like we talked, there's only one basketball, and how you share it. There's some nuance there that goes on.
However, I would also point out, and we haven't touched on this, Justice Lowe went in the transfer portal this week. And
there's not enough footballs to go around.
But I'm saying for this week, if those three didn't come back, you have Malik Benson, Cooper Perry, and
there was down to
three. So if these three come back, now you're at 6 receivers. So this isn't a situation where they've got that many guys fighting for it. I think it's really important that one or two of these guys comes back, even against JMU, just in terms of reps. Like I say, if it's Perry, Benson, and who am I missing? There's one other receiver, but
Gary Bryant Jr.
But he's been one of the injured ones too.
Evan
so if those guys come back, another one of the injured ones. I'm saying there have been three kind of healthy ones because you thought Justice Lowe was one of those guys as well.
McClellan.
But with him being gone, McClellan's the other one. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you bring them back, you've got, I think Benson's up here, but if you've got Decorian and Gary Bryant, they've put themselves in that spot, and then you get McClellan and Perry that are your 4 and 5 guys, kind of where you intended them to be.
So if your reporters shade was on, would you look under the hood and say Justice Lowe might think I'm not going to see the field even in this playoff game because I got receivers coming back?
Yeah, that's a weird one to me because
wouldn't you go there as a reporter? So put your reporter's hat on now. Wouldn't you put to that if you saw that? It's an odd timing to say
because
I'm
the portal
getting into the
open
portal.
Until the second, and you got it last year when that Bo Pribula went from Penn State because the portal opened in like December 20th last year. It's weird to me that, and again, I'm not. It's weird to me that a player would leave.
We're not
a player
playing the
would
jump
leave
to conclusion.
2 more games, 2 games ahead, or maybe he just decided he was going to go and was frustrated. I don't know, but I would almost, and I'm almost surprised that because like Kenny Dillingham's talked about, hey, there's guys in this bowl game who said they're going to transfer, but they're still part of this. Is still part of this season. You can play. I'd be curious if he went to Lanning and said, hey, I'd like to play, but I'm going to transfer, and maybe they said, make your choice now.
Yeah. And I could see that as well. J. Esperanza, by the way, of Eugene, won our other pair of tickets to the Gonzaga-Oregon game that's coming. You okay?
I'm doing all right.
Okay. The Oregon-Gonzaga game coming up on Sunday at 3 p.m. We got more tickets to give away tomorrow. All right, let's continue with Dan Lanning. And, of course, what we're also been discussing a lot is on Tosh Lupoy and Will Stein. Going to leave at the end of the season, whenever that is, for Oregon. And Dan Lanning talks about how it's the right thing for these coaches to stay.
This is unique, man. This is a blessing to get to be a part of what we're, there's only 12 teams in the nation that still get to play football right now. Anybody that wouldn't want to be a part of that's crazy, right? But also the acknowledgement, obviously, for both those guys, they know they're not in those, in those opportunities if they, didn't do a great job here with the help of those players. And those guys deserve, our team deserves those guys best down the stretch. And, it's a very similar mindset of, man, job not finished. They want to be able to finish this thing out. And there's going to be a bright future ahead for those guys and what they have going on next. But this is something you want to be a part of.
You've heard the players talk about it quite a bit in the run-up to this, on how they didn't even think about that. Will Stein's the new head coach at Kentucky. Tosh Lupoy's the new head coach at Cal. And it was like, we wouldn't have thought they were going to leave anyway. And that's that mentality and that's special.
Yeah, but it's also not. Brian Hartline's the new coach at USF. He's still at Ohio State. Jamarcus Shepard, still at Alabama, even though he's at Oregon State. Colin Klein at Texas A&M is taking the K-State job. So we've seen if your team's in the playoff, you do. If your team's not in the playoff, then you bail early. We've seen that to where if you're
or
in
if you're
one of
going
the other bowl
interconference,
games, correct?
Or if you're in the same conference,
correct. Yeah,
and a head coach.
Correct. Yes, but I'm saying if it's I'm talking the coordinators. The coordinators' choices are if your team's playing in the Maytag Bowl, you're going to move to your new place and start recruiting. If your team's playing for a ring, you're going to finish it out. So I think we're seeing, and that's obviously we talk about. That's what Dan Lanning did at Georgia as well.
That's got to be a drop. The Maytag Bowl.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
By the way, did your wife hug you last night?
That's none of your business, Danny. Can't tell I'm sick, but I don't want him anywhere near me right now.
What animal needs to wear a wig? What animal needs to wear a wig?
Porcupine.
Bald eagle.
I should have gotten that one. That wasn't that hard.
It's all right. I mean, no, listen. I guarantee you that. Actually, I don't want that one. I want this one down here. No, I don't want that one over there. No, let's do this one. No, actually, I want this one over here.
Thanks to Kerry Eggers.
And tomorrow, the great Scopeldamus with Goose and I in the studio. Big bets. Big bets. It is a race to the finish. Baby J's fighting up. Put a smile on your face. Someone else saves their episode of you. Peace.